You're standing in a Best Buy parking lot on a Saturday afternoon. It's 2:47 p.m. The receipt is still warm in your hand. You bought a soundbar, $439 after tax. You didn't need a soundbar. Your TV has speakers. They work fine. But this one has a subwoofer that sits on the floor. And the guy in the blue shirt said the bass response was exceptional, and you stood there nodding like you knew what that meant. You walked to your car. You put the box in the trunk. You close the trunk, and then, before you start the engine, you take out your phone and you think about who to text. Because you need someone to know. That's the thing you won't say out loud for another 2 years. That the purchase was never really about the sound. You are 29 years old. You live in Charlotte, North Carolina. You make $68,000 a year as an account manager at a mid-size logistics firm, which sounds like enough money until you actually look at your accounts, which you avoid doing. Your credit card balance is $11,400. It has been somewhere between $9,000 and $13,000 for the past 3 years, drifting up and down like a tide that never fully goes out. Your savings account has $1,800 in it, which you think of as an emergency fund, though it would cover about 11 days of your actual life. You are not broke. That's what you tell yourself. Broke is something else. Broke is someone else. You have a good job. You have a nice apartment in South End, the kind of building with a rooftop deck you've used twice. You have a closet full of clothes you mostly don't wear, and a kitchen shelf with an espresso machine you use twice a week and 4 supplements you use never. All of it purchased at some point with the specific feeling that having it would say something about you to someone. Every raise you've gotten in the past 4 years has evaporated within 3 months. You made $51,000 at 25. You make $68,000 now. You have less saved than you did then. Not because anything catastrophic happened, but because your spending expanded quietly to meet every dollar that arrived. You've never sat with that fact long enough to actually feel it. Tonight, you're going to. It starts on a Thursday night in October. You can't sleep. At 1 a.m., you open a spreadsheet, not to budget, just to look. And you start listing every significant purchase you've made in the past 6 months. It takes 45 minutes. The total is $23,400. You stare at that number for a long time. Then you try to list what you actually own from that spending, the soundbar. The jacket from that brand you saw on someone else first. The weekend in Nashville with people you're not that close to anymore, the shoes. The coffee setup. The gym membership at the nicer gym, because the other one felt like the wrong signal. You can name maybe 4 things clearly. The rest is a blur of transactions, money that moved through you and became nothing you can point to. The spreadsheet just sits there. $23,000, gone, and you feel it for the first time, the specific weight of it. Not guilt exactly. More like the feeling of realizing you've been waiting in the wrong line for a very long time, and it's too late to make the movie. You try the obvious thing first. You take photos of the stuff and list it online. The soundbar goes up for $280. Nobody bites. You drop it to $220. One guy asks if you'll take $160 and cover shipping. You do the math on what that means and close the app. The coffee machine that cost $450, listed for $200. One offer at $90. The jacket, $340 new, tagged, barely worn. You get $65 from a guy named Brian, who picks it up on a Tuesday and doesn't say anything about it. That's the thing about status purchases. Their entire value is social. The moment you try to extract real value from them, there's almost nothing there. A study out of San Francisco State found that buying things specifically to impress others wipes out whatever well-being you were supposed to get from the purchase. The transaction feels good for about 48 hours. After that, it's just furniture. It sits in your apartment, collecting the cost of the credit card interest it arrived with. You stop listing things. You stop trying to recoup. You just sit with the number. The turn doesn't feel like a turn. It feels like a Tuesday. You go 2 weeks without buying anything you don't need. Not as a challenge, not a reset. Just because you're tired. Tired of the math, tired of the cycle, tired of the low-grade hum of interest, compounding quietly in the background of your life while you scroll for the next version of something you already own. That's the thing that surprises you. Nobody comments on the fact that you didn't upgrade your phone when the new one came out. Nobody asks about your shoes. Derek at work, who just bought a watch he mentioned 4 times in 2 days, who talks about what he drives the way other people talk about their kids. You sit in the same meetings, eat the same lunches, take the same elevator. The world doesn't register your absence from the performance at all. There's research showing that roughly 84% of Americans justify unnecessary purchases with some version of "I deserve this" or "I'll treat myself." The internal permission structure we use to spend is almost entirely built on emotion, on a story we're telling ourselves about who we are and who's watching. When you stop telling the story, nobody misses it. Nobody was really reading it. You start to understand that the audience you've been performing for doesn't actually exist as a real thing. It's a composite, a vague idea of other people who are tracking your apartment and your kitchen equipment and your weekend plans. In reality, those people are managing their own performance. They are not watching yours. They never were. The next 14 months are quiet in a way that used to feel like failure. You put $300 a month into savings. Then $450. You pay down the credit card. Not all at once, methodically, smallest balance first, then the big one. The interest that was running you about $90 a month starts falling. You stop going to the nicer gym and go back to the regular one, which turns out to have the same weights and costs less than a third. You buy a jacket at a thrift store on a Saturday morning. $7. Heavy canvas, warm, you wear it for 11 months straight. Nobody asks where it's from. Nobody was ever going to. Your emergency fund crosses 3,000. Then 6. You don't post about it. There's nothing to post. That's new. Your brother Marcus is 37. He drives a 2014 Camry with a crack in the front bumper that he's never bothered to fix. He lives 20 minutes away and calls you every couple of weeks, usually about nothing. Sports. Mom's garden. A podcast he listened to. You've always thought of him as someone who just didn't care about the stuff. The clothes, the gear, the signals. You took it for a kind of dullness. A failure of ambition, maybe. At Thanksgiving, your dad mentions offhand that Marcus has been putting money into index funds since he was 24, that he has somewhere around $140,000 in there right now. Just sitting, compounding, quietly becoming more while he talks to you about a podcast. Marcus shrugs when you look at him. He's eating sweet potato. He doesn't say anything. He's had nothing to perform for years. You think about all the time you spent mistaking his silence for indifference. It wasn't indifference. He just didn't need an audience to make the thing real. 2 years after that parking lot. Charlotte is cold and gray and the leaves are done. Your net worth is $31,000. Not a number that belongs in a video with a thumbnail of someone pointing at a yacht. You know that. The national savings rate in the United States is around 4.5%. Meaning for every dollar the average American earns, they keep about 4.5 cents. The rest moves through people and becomes transaction and product, and eventually nothing they can name. 31,000 is not a revolution, but it's an actual number. It's real. It's not borrowed against itself, or spent forward into a next month that always arrives with less than expected. You drive past that Best Buy on a Saturday afternoon. You don't go in. Not because you're disciplined in some new way, not because you've become a different person, but because you know what's in there, and you know what it actually costs. Not the number on the receipt, but the other cost. The one they don't print. The race ends the day you realize no one was watching you run. The purchases were never about the things. They were about the story those things were supposed to tell. That you were doing well, that you were tasteful, that you had arrived at some version of yourself worth arriving at. But the people you were telling that story to were running their own version. Derek still has the watch. Still mentions it when he gets the chance. His savings account, the one time the conversation got real enough to go there, had about $800 in it. The audience was always just you, reflected back in everyone else's reaction. The moment you stop performing for that reflection is the moment the money starts making sense. That's it. That's the whole thing. Nothing dramatic. No number that changes your life. Just a parking lot, a receipt, and eventually, a drive home where you don't feel the need to tell anyone where you've been. The engine's running, the parking lot is emptying out around you. People are walking in and out of the store with bags, with boxes. with the specific look of someone who just made a decision they'll feel good about for exactly 2 days. You already know what to do.